The air was heavy with smoke and fear. People were running. The sky burned orange as enemy ships flew low over the city. Buildings shook. Sirens cried. The aliens had arrived. Zorth, Scold and Powerful, had attacked without warning. Their ships were dark, shaped like daggers, and fast like lightning. Saren stood still in the middle of it all. She did not run. She did not hide. She waited. From a distance her team watched. Captain Doran whispered, "Why is she just standing there?" "No idea," replied Rillo, the tech officer. "She's not responding to comms." Saren's long coat moved with the wind. Her face was calm. Her hands were empty. No weapon. No fear. It looked like betrayal. It looked like she had given up. A large Zorth ship landed with a deep hum. Ground cracked under its weight. The door opened. Black armored aliens marched out in silence, and Saren walked toward them. "Saren, what are you doing?" Doran shouted through the radio. "Fall back. That's an order." She didn't answer. She just kept walking. The Zorths raised their weapons. A moment passed. Then their leader stepped forward and scanned her face. The scanner beeped. "Target confirmed," the alien said in a metallic voice. They grabbed her arms, but she didn't fight. She let them cuff her wrists and pull her inside the ship. The doors closed with a loud clang. From their hidden position, Doran's team was shocked. "She went with them," Rillo said in disbelief. She let them take her." "What?" Doran asked, but no one had an answer. Inside the alien ship, Saren sat alone in a cold metal cell. The lights were dim. The walls were smooth, gray, and without any windows. A thin blue light scanned her body again and again. She stared at the wall, calm and focused. Then, very softly, she smiled. Phase 1 complete. She whispered to herself. A small light on her palm blinked only for a second. Hidden tech, human-made. The aliens hadn't found it. They had no idea who she really was. 2 weeks earlier, SERIN stood in front of the Secret Council deep under Earth's surface. The room was filled with generals and scientists. "Are you sure?" one of them asked. Saren nodded. "It's the only way. Let them take me."
"I'll get inside."
"You won't be able to come back unless the plan works," said General Kale. "It will work," Saren replied. "But I need to go alone. No backup. No tracking. If the Zorths find anything on me, I'm dead." "Luck, Agent Saren," the general said. Now, in the present, Saren stood as the ship moved through deep space. There were no windows, but she could feel it cold, endless black space around her. A noise came from the hallway. The door opened. A tall Zorth guard stepped inside. "Follow me," it said. She obeyed. They walked through long metal halls. She saw other prisoners in cells, some humans, some alien. Some were silent, some cried. Some looked empty, like they had lost hope. She didn't speak. The guard stopped at a room with no label. Inside, there were machines, screens, and 2 more Zoraths. "Scan her memory," one of them said. Saren's heart beat faster, but she kept her face calm. A metal chair extended from the floor. She sat. A cold machine pressed against her temple. It hummed. Her training kicked in. She focused on a memory end. Old childhood one. Something harmless. Something simple. The machine scanned it. Nothing unusual. One Zorith said, "She's just a low-level human," said the other. They believed. They let her go. Back in her new cell, Saren sat quietly. The hidden light in her palm blinked again. This time, faster. A signal. It meant someone had received her location. Her team now knew where the Zoriths were keeping prisoners. Saren smiled again. She looked around the cell and began counting screws, cameras, and vents. She had one goal now. Find the lab, copy the data, destroy it. This wasn't a rescue. This was war. And Saren had just stepped behind enemy lines. She let them take her. Now, the real mission begins. The ship felt alive. It hummed and shook gently as it moved through space. Cold lights glowed from the walls. The air inside was dry and sharp. Saren walked slowly down the metal corridor, her hands still locked. In front of her, the Zorith guard followed close behind. Each step echoed. She passed many doors. Some were closed. Some had small windows. Behind those windows, she saw faces, human and alien. Some were angry. Some were scared. A few were too tired to care anymore, but Sarah noticed everything. She counted each step, each turn. Every blinking light, her camera, her mind was a map. The guard led her into a new room. It was bigger than her last cell. There was a thin metal bench, a small sink, and one red light on the ceiling. "This will be your new cell," the guard said. It turned and walked away. The door closed behind it with a soft hiss. Saren stood in silence for a moment. Then she sat on the bench and leaned back. Her eyes moved slowly around the room. 3 cameras, 2 vents, one tiny panel under the sink. That panel looked weak. She smiled. Later that night, the hallway was quiet. No footsteps. No sounds. Saren opened her palm. A small needle poked out from her skin. She bent near the panel under the sink and began working on it. Her fingers moved fast but quiet. Click, click. Buzzed inside the panel, she found wires, blue, red, and green. She touched 2 together. A light sparked suddenly. A voice came from the next cell. "You'll get yourself killed doing that." Saren froze. The voice was deep and strange. She peeked through the small vent above her bed. On the other side, she saw an alien face. Its skin was dark green, with thin lines that glowed softly. Its eyes were big and blue. "My name is Raul." It said, "You're not just another prisoner, are you?" Saren didn't answer right away. Then she said, "No, I'm here on purpose." The alien smiled. "I thought so." The next day, Saren was taken to the food hall. It wasn't a real hall, just a large gray room with silent prisoners sitting at metal tables. A machine gave them small cubes of food. They tasted like dust. Saren sat at a corner table, watching everything. Raul joined her. "He didn't eat. You're human," he said. "But you act like a Zorith spy." "I'm neither," she replied. Raul leaned closer. "Do you know what's deeper in this ship?" Saren looked at him. Labs. He nodded. "And something worse." "What do you mean?" Raul looked around and whispered, "This ship carries something very old. It's very dangerous. Even the Zoriths fear it." Saren's eyes narrowed. "What is it?" "I don't know," Raul said. "But sometimes I hear voices. When the lights go out, they whisper, out in any known language." Saren didn't laugh. She didn't doubt him, because last night she had heard it too. That night, Saren couldn't sleep. She lay on the bench, eyes open, staring at the red light. Above her, then she heard it again, a whisper. It was not loud. It came like a breeze inside her mind. She sat up. The voice said nothing she understood, but it felt ... hungry. She grabbed the needle tool from under her bed and moved to the panel again. This time, she connected to different wires. The red light above her flickered, then turned off. Complete darkness. Footsteps came running. She quickly returned to the bed and pretended to sleep. The door burst open. Guards entered. One pointed a light at her, another checked the panel. "Fault in power line," one said. She didn't move. The other replied. They left. The door hissed shut, but Saren had seen what she wanted. When the light flickered, a shape had stood. Near the far wall, not a Zorith, not a prisoner, something else, something watching her. The next morning, Raul looked shaken. "I heard the whisper again," he said. "Me too." "What is it?" Looked at Saren, looked down. I think it's the real reason this ship doesn't go near any stars. It's hiding something, or keeping it trapped." Raul leaned closer. "You still think this is a rescue mission?" Saren looked him in the eye. "No, it's much bigger now." They both sat in silence. Then Saren stood up. "I need to find the lab." The ship drifted through empty space like a silent beast. Its engines made no sound humans could hear. Its lights stayed dim, moved slowly as if it didn't want to be seen. But inside, strange things were happening. Saren sat in her cell, staring at the wall. Her mind was busy. always working. She had seen enough to know this wasn't just a prison ship. Something worse was hidden here. Rawl spoke again that night through the vent. They moved someone from level 6 today, he said. Who? Saren asked. I don't know. But the guards looked scared. Saren leaned closer to the vent. Scared? Soreths don't fear anything. This time they did, Rawl replied. Their skin was shaking. One even dropped his weapon. Saren frowned. Then she heard it again. The whisper soft, cold, like a voice inside her bones. She looked around her cell. Nothing moved. No wind. No speakers. And yet the whisper grew louder. Rawl heard it too. I hear it, he said. It's coming from the walls. Saren pressed her ear to the metal. The whisper wasn't speaking any known language, but she felt something in it. Pain, anger, hunger. It didn't want help. It wanted out. The next day a guard arrived at Saren's cell. You move. He took her to a different hallway, one she hadn't seen before long. Cold, no other prisoners. The lights flickered above. Where are we going? She asked. The guard didn't answer. At the end of the hallway was a black door. No handle, no label. The guard placed his hand on a scanner. The door opened with a low growl. Inside, the air was thick, heavy. It smelled old. The room was filled with large tanks, green liquid inside them. Bodies floated in each one, human, alien, and others she couldn't name. This is the test lab, the guard said flatly. You will assist. I'm not a doctor. You will observe. 2 Zorith scientists entered the room. One of them nodded at the guard, who left the room and locked the door. Saren stood still. Her heart beat faster. The scientists didn't look at her. They worked on the tanks, typing notes, watching the screens. Saren took small steps. Moving slowly, she reached one tank and looked inside. The human inside was alive. Barely. His skin was pale, eyes open, but empty. He was being kept alive for testing. She felt sick, but she kept watching. She had a mission. Then she saw something strange. At the back of the lab was a second door, old, metal and covered in black markings. No lights near it, no guards. Saren pointed at it. What's behind that door? One of the Zoriths looked up quickly. His eyes flashed. You don't go near that door, he said sharply. Wait. Why? He stared at her for a long second. Because what's inside is not part of your mission. Then he looked away. But that one moment told Saren everything. Whatever was behind that door, it was what she needed to find. Later, back in her cell, Rawl spoke quickly. They're getting closer to their final test, he said. I heard it from a dying guard. What test? Saren asked. They want to create something, a new kind of life, using the minds of humans and the strength of Zoriths. Saren's stomach turned. Why? To win the war? Forever. Saren shook her head. They're playing with something too dangerous. That whisper. That thing in the walls. It's not part of their plan. It's older. It's worse. Rawl looked down. They think they can control it, he whispered. But I don't think they can. That night, Saren made her move. She used her tool to disable the lock on her cell. It clicked softly. She opened the door and peeked into the hall. No guards. She moved fast. Sticking to the shadows, she reached the lab again. It was empty. She found the back door with black markings. She touched it. It felt alive. She used her tool to open the lock. The door hissed. Inside was total darkness. The air was cold like ice. She stepped in. The walls were covered in strange symbols. The floor was metal, but cracked. Something had broken free. A long hallway stretched ahead. Saren walked slowly, heart pounding. Then she saw it. A large glass chamber inside. There was a shadow. It didn't move. It didn't have eyes. But she felt it watching her, and suddenly it spoke. Not with words, with thought. You are not one of them. Saren froze. Who are you? She asked out loud. The first, the forgotten, the mistake. What do you want? To remember? Return? To feed. She stepped back. Suddenly, alarms blared across the ship. Lights flashed red. She ran out of the chamber as the whisper laughed inside her mind. Back in her cell, the guards grabbed her roughly. You were not allowed in that sector, one shouted. Saren didn't fight. They locked her arms tighter and moved her to a new place. Not a cell. A holding chamber deep below the ship. Raw Al was gone. And now, Saren knew the truth. She wasn't just fighting the Zoriths. Something ancient had awakened, and it had noticed her. Saren was no longer in a normal cell. This new place was far below the rest of the ship. The walls were darker. The lights blinked slowly, as the air was thick and cold. There were no other prisoners, no guards nearby, just silence. They had placed her in a locked chamber with no bed, no sink, and no vent. Only one camera in the corner, and one glowing red light above. She sat in the middle of the floor. Breathing slowly, she knew why they had moved her. They knew she saw. What was behind the black-marked door? They were afraid. Hours passed, then the light above her changed red to white. The door opened. 2 Zorith guards entered, holding long metal. Rod stand, once said. Saren stood. They grabbed her arms and led her down another corridor. This one was different, older. It didn't look like the rest of the ship. The walls had dents, marks, like something large had scratched them long ago. They reached a small door. No scanner. No lights. Just a keypad. One of the guards entered a long code. The door opened with a loud groan. Saren's eyes widened. Inside was a hidden chamber, dusty, dark, and full of machines that looked broken. It was not a lab. It was a graveyard. Rows of large glass tubes lined the walls. Most were empty. Some were broken. A few still had something inside, shapes floating in black liquid. She couldn't tell if they were dead or alive. Saren walked slowly. She reached a table in the center of the room. On it sat an old data device. Strange. It was human tech. She picked it up and tapped the screen. It lit up. Project Humanity. Final stage file status. ACTIV. Saren's face turned pale. She opened the file. Images and text appeared. Humans being tested. Their minds scanned. Their bodies mixed with alien DNA. Zorith scientists called it the next form. The file also showed maps: Earth, Mars, Titan, and something worse. All human locations were marked for future collection. It wasn't just an experiment. It was a plan. A quiet invasion. Suddenly a whisper came again, but this time it wasn't. In her mind, it was behind her. She turned slowly. One of the broken tanks. It cracked further. Dark liquid leaked out, and inside, something moved. Saren stepped back. She dropped the data device into her coat. The guards didn't notice. They were too busy staring at the tank. Not again, one muttered. The other raised his weapon. Seal the room. But before he could move, the glass shattered. The creature fell to the floor. It was tall, thin, and covered in black veins. Its eyes glowed softly, not with light, with hunger. It didn't speak. It moved fast. One guard screamed before the creature slammed into him, sending his body flying across the room. The other tried to run, but was caught in seconds. Saren stood frozen. Then the creature looked at her and stopped. It didn't attack. It just stared. Then slowly, it backed away into the shadows and disappeared behind the old machines. Alarms began to sound again. Red lights flashed in the hallway. Saren ran. She didn't care about being seen. Now she had the data, the truth, and she needed to escape. She ran through the old corridor, back toward the main deck. As she turned a corner, someone grabbed her arm. She raised her hand to strike Saren. Wait. It was Ra. He looked tired, weak but alive. You're here? She said. They moved me down here too. I escaped the same time as you. We don't have long, Saren said. something broke out. It killed the guards. I know, Raul replied. It's not the only one. Saren pulled out the data device. I found the file. Earth is next. Raul nodded. No. They found a service lift at the far end of the hall. Raul used his sharp claws to break the lock. The doors opened. Inside was a small platform and a control panel. Saren pressed a button. The lift began to rise above them. Alarms still screamed. But Saren didn't care about the noise anymore. She looked down at the file in her coat. She had proof. A proof that the Zoriths were not just testing humans, they were preparing to replace them. As the lift rose, the whisper returned one more time. You took what was mine. Saren closed her eyes. No, she whispered back. I took what you were hiding. The lift stopped. The doors opened to the upper level of the ship. Lights flickered. The hallway was empty. She and Raul ran. They didn't know where the escape pods were yet, but they were close. And behind them, something was following. They could feel it. It moved without sound, and it was angry. Saren and Raul ran through the upper corridor of the Zorith ship. The floor shook under their feet. Alarms still screamed from every wall. The lights flickered between red and white. Saren held the stolen data device close to her chest. Raul had a sharp piece of broken metal in his hand, taken from the lift door. Behind them, they heard nothing, but they felt something. A pressure in the air. A presence following, not with footsteps, like a shadow moving without form. They didn't stop. Running, they turned a corner and reached a split hallway. One path led to the medical bay, the other deeper into the engine section. Which way? Saren asked, out of breath. Engine room has small ships for repairs, Raul said. Escape pods are that way. Let's go. He ran left suddenly. A group of humans appeared ahead, 5 of them in worn prisoner clothes like Saren's. One of them stepped forward. A man, tall, strong, and with sharp eyes. Saren, he asked. She stopped. Do I know you? We're the rescue team. He said, sent from the Terran Freedom Network. We were told to find you. Raul stepped forward. We should keep moving. There's no time to talk. But Saren narrowed her eyes. Something didn't feel right. How did you know I was here? Did she ask? The rebels got your signal. What signal? The one from your hand implant. Saren froze. She had never activated the signal. Only her team on. Earth knew how to trigger it remotely. These people weren't rebels. They were lying. She slowly stepped back. Raul, run. One of the fake humans pulled out a stun rod. Don't make this hard, he said. Saren threw a sharp elbow into the first man's neck, spun, and kicked another in the leg. Raul jumped forward, slashing one with the metal shard. The hallway turned into chaos. Saren dodged a swing, grabbed the stun rod, and hit one of the attackers in the face. Sparks flew. Raul fought like an animal, his claws slashing and pushing. One of the attackers grabbed Saren from behind, but she had trained for years. She dropped her weight, threw him over her shoulder, slammed the rod into his chest. Electric shock knocked him out cold. The rest ran away. Saren and Raul leaned against the wall, breathing heavy. They weren't real prisoners, she said. No, Raul replied. They were Zorith agents. Why would they pretend to help? To get the data, Saren said. They knew I had it. Raul looked at her. So now you not trust no one, she nodded. They reached the engine bay. It was large and hot, with fuel tanks and flashing lights. A few small repair pods were docked along the side wall. They ran to the nearest one. Saren opened the hatch and climbed inside. Raul followed. Inside was tight and old, but the controls were simple. She strapped in, powered it up, and aimed for the launch slot. Suddenly, the panel flashed red. Dock locked. A voice came from outside the pod, deep and full of static. You cannot escape. It was the shadow. It had reached them. Outside the glass, the hallway was dark, but something moved. Not fast. Slow. Confident, like it knew they had nowhere left to run. Saren grabbed the manual override. I'm breaking the lock. She pulled the lever. The pod shook. The engine screamed. The dock lock gave. Way with a loud bang, the pod shot out into space. They were free, but not safe. The Zorith ship turned behind them. Chasing Saren activated the cloaking screen. The pod turned. Invisible, they floated quietly into a field of asteroids. Inside, Raul looked at her. "You still have the file?" Saren nodded and pulled out the device. "This has everything. The test labs. The new species. The Earth's invasion plan. You'll send it to the rebels?" "Yes. If they get this data, they'll know what's coming. They can stop it." Raul was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "What about the shadow?" Saren looked out the small window into space. "It's not done." Back in the Zorith ship, deep in the dark sector, the whisper spoke again. "She ran. She took my voice. She woke me." Figure moved in the shadows, not alive, not dead, just waiting inside the escape pod. Saren watched the screen. They had only a few hours before reaching the edge of the Zorith network. She turned to Raul. "We need to be ready for what?" She looked at the stars ahead. "For the real war. One they haven't told anyone about yet." The small escape pod moved silently through the asteroid field. Outside, huge space rocks drifted past. Some were the size of houses. Some were small, like metal balls. The ship's cloak hid it from Zorith scanners for now. Inside, Saren sat near the control panel. Her hands worked fast, her eyes sharp. She had removed the data device from her coat and connected it to the pod's small terminal. The screen flickered. Lines of alien code ran across it. "What are you doing?" Raul asked. "Unlocking the core files," she said. "So there's more data hidden inside." "I saw it in the lab." The screen flashed again, accessing hidden level. "Password required?" Saren paused. She closed her eyes and remembered something. One of the strange symbols from the black marked door. She typed it in. The screen unlocked. The hidden file opened. Her eyes widened. There were videos, audio logs, even recorded meetings. She pressed play on the first one. A human face appeared, a general from Earth's Defense Command. He spoke in a cold, calm voice. "The deal with the Zoriths will save our cities. We allow testing in outer colonies. In return, they share advanced tech." Another voice, Arth, metallic. "And in time, your kind will become ... more efficient." Raul stepped forward. "They made a deal?" Saren's hands tightened into fists. "They let the Zoriths take people. From small colonies, places no one checks." She played another file. A woman screamed in a test chamber. Machines scanned her brain, and her voice stopped. Silence. Raul looked sick. "They used your people like lab rats." Saren nodded. "Not just humans. Other species, too." She found another file. It showed a map Earth's solar system, its blinking red dots, each marked a human base. Each one was listed under a label. Harvest Point. Saren looked at Raul. "They're preparing to take Earth next." Suddenly the pod lights flickered. Raul stood up. "Something's wrong." Saren looked at the screen. "We're being tracked? The Zoriths?" "No," she whispered. "Something older." The whisper returned, soft at first, then louder. Inside her mind, "You opened the door. Now I see everything." Saren grabbed her head. "Get out." Held her shoulder. "Saren, focus." She shut her eyes, took a deep breath, and the voice faded. The screen blinked again. Energy surge detected. Raul checked the sensors. "There's a ship coming, but it's not Zorith." Saren looked at the radar. It showed a strange signal, pulsing, changing. "It's from the dark sector," she said. "That creature. It followed us." She turned back to the data. "I have to send this file now." "To who?" Raul asked. "To the rebel satellites near Mars. They'll share it with the outer colonies." She pressed send. The pod system connected to a long-range relay beacon. A loading bar appeared. 1%. 3%. 7%. Suddenly, The pod shook hard. A shadow passed over them, black and without shape. Outside the window, space twisted. The stars bent. Something was coming closer. The whisper returned. You tried to run, but you carry me with you. Saren gritted. Her teeth. No. I carry the truth. The lights flickered 20%. Dot. 3. 5%? Dot. Raw. Al moved to the control panel. We need more power for the transmitter. There's a backup cell under the floor. Raul pulled open the hatch and connected the extra power. The bar jumped 60%. 75%. The pod shook again. From the window, he saw it. A creature in space, no ship, no metal, just a giant being made of black smoke and glowing veins. It floated like a ghost, eyes without light, arms like shadows. Saren stared. That's what the Zoriths were keeping locked, she said. Why? Raul asked. Because it's not from this galaxy, she replied. It's older than both our species. The data upload reached 90%. The creature reached out, not with hands, with mind. Saren screamed. Her vision turned white. She saw Earth burning, cities falling, voices crying out. She saw the future if this thing reached the planet. Raul shouted. Saren, wake up. She gasped and fell back into the seat. The screen flashed, implode, complete signal sent. Silence filled the pod. The whisper stopped. The creature paused outside the glass. Then, slowly it began to fade. It was not defeated, but it had what it wanted. A piece of Saren's mind. A link it would wait. The pod systems came back online. Saren sat up. Her body was weak, but her eyes were clear. I sent the truth, she said. To who? Raul asked again. Saren smiled. To everyone. A few hours later, the message reached Mars, then Jupiter, then Titan, then Earth. The truth spread like fire. People learned what the Zoriths were doing and what was coming next. Back in space, Saren looked at Raul. We're not done yet. No, he said. Real mission is just starting. The stars outside the pod blinked softly, like quiet eyes in the dark. Saren sat in silence, her face pale, body still shaking from the last contact with the shadow being. Raul checked the controls. The power was low, and their direction was unknown. They were drifting. They had escaped the Zoriths. They had sent the truth, but they had no safe place to go. We need to land, Raul said. Saren nodded. Where? He pointed at the screen. A small green planet appeared on the edge of the map. No name, he said. But I've heard rumors. Long ago, the Zoriths built something there, then left. Saren stared at the rotating planet. Could be a trap. Could be shelter. They had no choice. The pod changed course and entered the planet's orbit. The sky turned purple as they entered the atmosphere. Winds hit the pod from all sides. Clouds were thick like smoke. Lightning cracked far away. Then they saw it a flat landing zone with old metal buildings. Everything looked broken, abandoned. The pod landed hard, skidding across the ground. Smoke hissed from under the hull, but they were alive. Saren unbuckled her seat. We move now, she said. Outside, the air was heavy. The sky had no sun, only a dim red light from far away. The ground was cracked, the buildings covered in dust and rust. Strange trees grew sideways, their branches reaching toward the ground. Saren and Raul walked slowly, scanning the area inside one building. They found an old Zorith console still running on backup power. Saren plugged in her device. The console lit up. A screen blinked. Welcome. It's a Reth science officer, accessing base archives. She looked at Raul. This used to be a test colony. He nodded. Long before humans ever left Earth. The next screen showed something unexpected. Human faces. Dozens. Of them recorded years ago. All living here. This is impossible, Saren whispered. They brought humans here. for first contact. She opened one file. A girl, barely 20, spoke into a camera. They said we were special, that we'd build the future. But no one told us we'd never leave. Rawl looked around. Where are they now? Saren didn't answer, because she already knew. They explored further. In the center of the colony was a stone, structured nothing like Zorith design. Old, carved with strange symbols, it gave off a strange warmth. Saren touched it. Whispers returned, not evil, not dark, but sad. Memories of humans taken too. Early of minds twisted in experiments, of lives erased from history. Suddenly, the ground shook. The sky flashed from the horizon. Ship appeared black and long. A Zorith hunter cruiser. They found us, Rawl said. Saren backed away from the structure. Can't fight that ship. We can hide. No, not this. Time, she turned to the console and quickly typed in new commands. What are you doing? He asked. I'm activating the distress beacon hidden in this colony. If any rebel ship hears it, they'll come. And if the Zoriths hear it too, they already know we're here. The console glowed red. Distress signal sent. All systems. Unlocked. A new door opened behind the stone structure. Saren and Rawl entered quickly. Inside, they found something incredible: rows of stasis pods. Each pod had a sleeping human inside. Saren walked past them, counting at least 50. They survived, she said. The early test subjects? But why didn't they wake up? Rawl pointed to a control screen. Condition: safe. Awaiting instructions. Saren hesitated, then pressed the green button. Awakening process started. Lights flickered. The pods began to hiss. Outside, the Zorith ship landed. Black armored soldiers marched out, scanning the ground inside the bunker. Saren grabbed a metal bar and handed one to Rawl. We hold them off until help comes. Rawl nodded. One by one, the stasis pods opened. Humans stepped out, weak but alive. Saren turned to them. My name is Saren. You were taken years ago. Now, you're free, but we must fight. A few nodded, some grabbed tools. Others stood beside her, silent but ready. The first Zorith entered the room. Saren swung the metal bar. The fight began. It wasn't clean. It wasn't easy. But for the first time, humans inside a Zorith lab fought back not as test subjects, but as warriors. Saren moved like fire. Rawl fought beside her like a storm. More Zoriths came, but something else did too. From the dark sky above, a light broke through. A rebel ship. Large, armed, human built. They had heard the distress call. Lasers hit the Zorith. The ship from above. Explosion shook the ground. The enemy began to fall back. Inside the lab, Saren dropped to her knees, exhausted. But she smiled. They had survived. Rawl sat beside her. No safe place, you said. There isn't, she replied. But we'll make one. Smoke still rose from the wreckage of the Zorith ship. The sky above the hidden colony had cleared for the first time in years. The strange clouds drifted away, revealing distant stars. One of them was Earth-teeny, far, but safe, for now. Saren stood at the edge of the crater, staring at the battlefield. Beside her stood Rawl, wounded but strong. Behind them, the survivors from the stasis pods were recovering inside the old stone building. The rebel rescue team, now landed and helping, moved fast to repair systems, check vitals, and scan for more Zorith signals. But Saren knew this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. A rebel officer approached her. He was young, human, and full of questions. You're Saren, right? The one who sent the files? Yes, she said. You have no idea how big this is. Every colony, every rebel outpost, they've seen it. People are rising. Earth Council is denying it, but too many know now. Saren nodded slowly. Then, it's working. He lowered his voice. But some of the council members were part of the deal with the Zoriths. I know, Saren replied. We'll deal with them too. Inside the control center of the abandoned colony, Saren uploaded the rest of the core files. These included deep code Zorith fleet maps, secret lab locations, and data on the shadow being. Rawl leaned over her shoulder. What's this? He asked. The creature? The one we saw? I found its name. She pointed to the alien symbols on the screen. Translated, it means the Memory Eater. Rawl frowned. What does it want? It feeds on thoughts, knowledge, Zoriths tried to trap it, but it grew smarter. It lives through minds. It survives through fear. Rawl stepped back. And it touched you. Saren nodded. That link is still open. Suddenly the lights flickered. The console screen blinked black. Words appeared. You left me in the dark. It was Aaron's. Hands froze. Then she typed, You don't control me. A pause. Then, not yet. The screen went dead. Saren unplugged the console. Later, a small meeting was held inside the bunker. Rebels, survivors, fighters from other planets. Saren stood at the center. This mission started with me letting them take me, she said. I became their prisoner to find out what they were hiding. She raised the small data chip in her hand. This chip exposed everything. The tests, the fake deals, the plan to wipe us out slowly and replace us with something not human. People nodded, some clenched fists. But now we know. And now we fight back. The room filled with silent fire. Then a rebel woman stood. We can't just defend, she said. We strike first, another added. We have ships. We have tech. But we need leadership. All eyes turned to Sir. She took a breath. I didn't come here to lead, she said. But you already are, Rawl replied from the side. Saren looked at the stasis survivors, the rebels, and even the stars outside the cracked window. Then I'll lead one mission, she said. The real mission. We're going to the heart of the Zorith Empire, their main data vault. Why there? Someone asked. Because that's where the Memory Eater was born. Gasps echoed in the room. You want to fight it? I want to lock it away forever, she replied. And I want to destroy the Zorith's core intelligence center. The next days were spent repairing the rebel ship, upgrading weapons, and building a plan. The survivors trained even the weak ones. Everyone knew there was no safe place left. Not in the colonies. Not on Earth. Their only hope was to finish what Saren had started. Before boarding, Rawl handed her a black wristband. What's this? Emergency trigger, he said. Press it. It'll break the link. She slid it on. Thanks. He smiled. You jump into danger too, easily. She grinned. And you keep following me? As the ship lifted from the surface, Saren looked down one last time at the ruined colony. It was no longer just a forgotten place. It was the start of something new. Rebellion, unity, hope. Inside the ship, the crew took their positions. Target. Set, the pilot said. Zorith Data Core Sector V9. Jumping in 3.2.1. Stars stretched, the ship vanished into the dark. Back on the Zorith homeworld. A massive structure sat under a red sun inside. A chamber full of glowing orbs pulsed gently. And in the center, a shadow opened its eyes. It smiled. She's coming.